Two balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swing and a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Walk the ball. Chris Taylor.
Hi, everyone, and welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Matthew Moreno, and joining me tonight is none other than Scott Geirman, who I feel like we need to come up with some sort of nickname for you, whether it's maybe Scotty G, the People's Champ. Although if we use that one, The Rock may come after us. But every time you're in our chat or you're on the show, the people love it. So we need something.
Scotty G's cool, man. That's been going back for a long time. I like that a lot. People just keep going on with that. I mean, just like Blake said, is that not enough? Scotty, not enough, but Scotty G's cool. Yeah. It's just a, awesome day, man. It's been a really fun past 2 days. Going to wrap this up with tonight. I know the game's still going on, but we're going to have a good show. There's a lot to talk about tonight, a lot of storylines, and how we feeling, Matt?
Yeah, I'm good. And as you said, this is the game. The Dodgers are still playing. They're going up against the Angels, of course, and this is a little bit of a different show than normal. Rather than us waiting until the Dodgers finish, Scott and I thought we'd come on with you guys, sort of read and react as things are happening. It is already the 8th inning. I do have the TV on, so if you see me sort of looking over my shoulder, it's not because I'm distracted. It's just to kind of check in and see what's going on. And I'll look here. So the Angels have a man on first base. They're winning 4-0, as I mentioned, in the 8th inning. So that's kind of where that stands. Blake, I know, is he's handling the recap for us. He's live tweeting. I do see him in the chat as well. He was a little nervous that maybe as he starts putting the recap together that the Dodgers were going to mount a furious comeback. I was a little skeptical, but we'll see. The 8th inning has been kind of their inning, so maybe they have a little bit of Cactus League magic. But before we continue with tonight's show, I just want to please remind you to hit the like button on this video. We have a lot of viewers on YouTube. People are also joining us on Twitter and Facebook as well. We appreciate everybody. But if you are on our YouTube channel, if you could hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell while you're there. That guarantees that you won't miss any of the latest news. And if you're podcasting, we greatly appreciate if you would subscribe and left a review that hopefully would be positive. But hey, if it's constructive criticism, we're certainly open to that. And if you've been with us before, you know that Scott and I plan to take some questions at the end of tonight's show. But remember, if you want to get something up right away, if you have, a topic you want to make sure that we address, or if you just want to share something with everybody, Super Chat is definitely the way to go. And we'll stop whatever we're doing and just discuss whatever you want us to. So as I said, we are focusing a little bit on tonight's show. This is sort of a post-game live show recap, if you will. And we'll start from the beginning with, Bobby Miller's his second start of spring training. He stretched out to 3 innings. This time he went 2 innings in his debut. He allowed 2 hits, issued 1 walk against the Angels. Scott, just, thoughts on Miller's start tonight, and then maybe just kind of overall his spring training so far as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bobby Miller coming into this year, it's a lot of pressure off him. We've talked ad nauseum about how the front office really loading up that front end takes a lot of weight off of his shoulders to be so spectacular, be perfect, because the growing pains come with a high-powered arm. But tonight, right off the jump, sharp curveball, strong changeup, all of his off-speed stuff early on in the first 2 innings looked competitive. It was that was very pleasant to see. I was really happy about that because he has such a high, fastball percentage. He's going to rely on that a ton. It was good to see him really work off of his secondary stuff. And at one point, he threw 4 straight curveballs for strikes. And it's not like they were timing him up either. They weren't swinging and missing. He was landing them in the zone, which is something he didn't do very much at all last year, which kind of put him into some early troubles. He had to take a few innings to get that. So I know everybody noticed that. And at one point, I'm pretty sure he had, my goodness. Oh, I put it down in here. So, he had a couple comes out in the 3rd inning, had a little rough time, and then he was able to get his 4th ground ball out of his outing, and it was for an inning-ending double play. So he started out strong, kind of got into some trouble, and got out of it with a ground ball, just like he did all last year. And there was only one pitcher that's currently on the roster that was better than Bobby Miller at getting ground balls. You know who that is?
Is it Gratterall?
No. Tyler Glasnow.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. All right.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
So it's just all plus signs for Bobby Miller today. I love to see him working backwards, really showcasing his secondary stuff because the fastball will be there. It's just a matter of if you're not sitting on it, that's how it's just going to be that much better.
Yeah. And with you're mentioning some of Miller's secondary pitches. I think that sort of ties into my next question for you regarding Bobby Ice, as some
Yeah.
taken to calling him. He has one strikeout in both of his starts this spring, and I know he's not like necessarily a huge strikeout guy, but he has, I think, the stuff. He certainly has the velocity. Is there any concern that he's only gotten one strikeout in both of his Cactus League starts?
Maybe. I mean, he's might be relying a little bit too much on contact. But if it's weak contact, he's getting ground balls. It's peculiar to have a guy has such a high powered arsenal, not really gravitate towards high strikeout numbers. So I think there might be something to it. Maybe we'll see that more this year. It might be sequencing. I am. He has two, so I think it's two strikeouts. He had one tonight and one in his first outing. So just two. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 1-1.
Sure, 1-1. So maybe he's working on some stuff, sequencing, just trying to land stuff, and maybe they'll work that. Say, now you have much more of a feel for it. Then let's move forward and see how we can really land those as real true swing and miss pitches. I would lean more towards that than has more of a deficiency. I know it's easy to say, but I'm going to bank on that. They're going to use exactly what they're seeing right now tonight. They're going to catapult that into his next outing, and maybe we'll see those numbers go up. I expect them to, but all plus signs there because he really does have swing and miss stuff. I really like to see him showcase that curveball more because it's definitely not just a gimme pitch. I don't like that. I think it has so much more life to it than just a show me strike. So that's kind of where I'm at on the strikeouts for him.
Yeah, and what's interesting with Miller, you mentioned sort of bottling up the positives from his start against the Angels and using that moving forward. If you sort of look at he went like 1 week between starts. And if the Dodgers sort of keep him on that schedule, then he's starting one more time in Cactus League play. And then because obviously their schedule is condensed due to their trip, heading to South Korea, that could potentially be it. My guess is maybe they figure out a way to get him into the exhibition freeway series games, kind of sandwiched in between South Korea and then starting their schedule stateside. But is there any concern? Like, what do you think? How challenging do you think it may be for him to sort of have generated maybe some positive results, some momentum, and then now he's going to be shut down? Because I imagine, the Dodgers have not officially announced anything, but Dave Roberts has strongly hinted at Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Tyler Glasnow being the two starters in South Korea in some order. So Bobby Miller is going to go, at least 10 days between getting into any sort of game situation.
Yeah. I mean, similar to what we've seen with hitters, they're going to do a lot to get them into simulated games, work those up downs, because those are, very important process for him, making sure he's built up. 3 innings was very good to, have him get through that. There might be some, I don't know about concern. I think this is stuff that they've kind of planned for. I wouldn't put it past the Dodgers to have this all laid out. I expect Bobby Miller to be in one of those exhibition games. As far as those 2 games, you won't need more than 2 starters there. They're probably roster a little, tinkering around. They're going to find ways to make stuff work there. I wouldn't expect to see either of the back end 3 to appear in those games. But they will figure out ways to make sure that he does have the length coming into it. I really expect them to have prepared for this. I don't think that they'll put too much on their starters early on in the season. And would we feel comfortable with about 5 innings? I think if he goes 2 in the first game, 3 innings tonight, you stretch him out to possibly 4 or 5, I would say 5. And then you might that's it. That might be okay for the first few outings of the season, especially because he's still building up to, and this was his, biggest season last year, rookie year. So he's still working that up. So I really expect them to, really bring him on and not put too much on him early. They never do that with their starting pitchers early on in the season. It's kind of by committee. They have a few guys who can really, supplement themselves early on.
I'm going to own it. I totally spaced on the 2 exhibition games
That's
that the Dodgers have in Korea before the Seoul series. So yeah, Miller, I guess my question then is moot, because I think he'll make one more Cactus League start before they leave, then potentially start one of those exhibition games. That wouldn't be a surprise. So then you're looking at, he's made 4 starts before his regular season debut, which, like you said, even if it is only 5 innings to begin with, the Dodgers certainly will be perfectly fine. They're not going to push him by any means early in the year.
Absolutely. No, you're like having some concern even with those exhibition games. Like you have to think about travel. You have to think about all the logistics that go into it. So even if I'm not going to hold that to you, buddy. It's okay. All that matters. Like it's an irregular schedule from what they're used to. Like we've seen this happen to, knock on wood, it's not Clayton Kershaw though. And like this stuff, it's just odd. It's fantastic for the game, but it's just odd in terms of just regular scheduling. So it's going to affect players in different ways. We just hope that they have this all down to a T and that there will be no hiccups and everybody will be ready to go. But it'll be interesting to see how guys respond, what kind of splits they do, who has more of a workload or who has more of a leash, stuff like that. So all questions are valid. It's just, I'd rather have it at the beginning of the year so they have the time to come back rather than a mid-season series where you have to travel somewhere else. I think that's just a little bit better for me.
Yeah, that's a great point because like something like playing in Mexico or London, those are happening during kind of more in the middle of the season, which the Dodgers did do. Was it 2018? I think they went down to Monterey, and when they had that combined no-hitter that Buehler started, and he was still on his innings limit. So yeah, that's certainly a great point that, you get your international trip, especially something like going all the way to South Korea, get it out of the way early in the season. Like I mentioned, if you guys have joined us late, Scott and I are doing this sort of quote unquote post game show while the Dodgers and Angels are playing, finishing the end of their game, and so that's why you may have seen me looking over my shoulder a couple times. It was just to kind of get myself an update, check out the score on the TV. The Angels are still up 4-0, at least at the last check when I looked over my shoulder 10 minutes ago. And here I'll do it again. No, not even 10 minutes, 10 seconds ago. Sorry. Now the Dodgers have 2 runners on base, so maybe they are making that vaunted 8th inning comeback, and Blake's going to have to rewrite his recap before maybe he gets back into the chat, and maybe he even joins us towards the end of tonight's show with during the question portion of it. But Scott, let's move on. We were discussing some concern, and I think that probably applies maybe a little bit more to Daniel Hudson than certainly Bobby Miller. The Dodgers didn't do Hudson any favors tonight. They failed to turn a double play, and so it not only resulted in the Angels taking a 1-0 lead, but it also meant a long inning for Hudson. He ended up throwing 27 pitches to get through the 1 inning. I think he stranded, I forgot if it was 1 or 2 batters on base, definitely at least 1. His performances have been a little uneven so far this spring, which I will acknowledge is not necessarily to be unexpected, I guess is fair to say. Or where are you with Daniel Hudson right now?
It's got to be, there has to be, this is where a level of concern comes in. So this is a spot where I think even the Dodgers accounted for this. I'm sure like the minor league deal has more to do with his health than anything. But there is, result-based, and I would say his ability to kind of, limit these long innings. He's struggling with the walks big time. So there's got to be something there. Walks in 3 out of his 4 outings this spring. He's, only has 3 strikeouts. So looks like he's kind of laboring out there. The defensive issues don't really help him a bunch, but he just doesn't look like his normal self. He's not really pitching with a lot of conviction, able to put guys away. He's laboring a bit. So it's kind of concerning to see, but the fact that he's already had 4 appearances so far, health has to be okay. Like, I think we can bank on that there, unless something happens within the next day or 2, that there's like, he's been hindered by something is bothering him. It might just be shaking off the cobwebs. It might just be some rust. It might be something that behind the scenes we don't know about, mechanically. But yeah, there's definitely a reason to be concerned.
Yeah, I think to your point, on one hand, Hudson has appeared in 4 games this spring. I think it was, right? That's the number. Mm-hmm. So that is encouraging. It's typically like you're not necessarily seeing that with certainly a lot of the relief pitchers the Dodgers have. And I think, for me, I guess the only reason I have quote unquote concern, honestly, is because Dave Roberts came out a few weeks ago and said, our hope is to have JP Feyereisen, Blake Treinen, and Daniel Hudson all part of our bullpen on opening day. Yeah. And that honestly surprised me because Feyereisen and Treinen didn't pitch at all last year. I mean, Treinen, I guess, made some rehab appearances, but he didn't get into a game for the Dodgers at all. Hudson had multiple knee injuries. He came back from the ACL, was pitching well, got the big save, unfortunately hurt his MCL in the other knee in that game, and then we didn't see him again. And the hope was that, if the Dodgers advanced to the NLCS, that he would potentially was going to be available at that point, but I don't know how likely that really was. So if the plan is, like you said, Hudson is back on a minor league deal. So when that happened, I thought, okay, this makes sense. Let him start the first month of the season down in OKC, and then figure out, okay, do we need to call him up at that point? Can we buy another couple of weeks before we do it? But Dave Roberts coming out and saying that, and of course, just because he said it doesn't mean that he needs to be held to it, and that those three relief pitchers are all going to be on the opening day roster. Blake Treinen has looked pretty sharp so far, so I think he's a lock. But that's where my concern with Hudson is if they're sticking to that plan of him being part of the opening day roster, I wonder if he's going to be able to knock off enough rust to get himself in position to really contribute and be effective.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, clearly they're trying to figure something out. They're trying to, not force him out there, but get him out there as much as they can, so that the Dodgers are all like, this is the time to do it. Like, if he feels this for as much frequency as we have seen him out there, there's definitely probably a strong belief in what he's got. It might just be something very minor. Like, it might be something that they're expecting to, him to figure out. I wouldn't be surprised to, next few outings for it to click. But the clock's kind of running out there, but it's not. Like, there's enough time for them to have back sessions, work on the backfields, get bullpens in, and really look at things. So my concern just comes from walk issues, because generally in his career, in this last few years of the Dodgers, he's just been filling up the strike zone and staying away from that. So him to have those early on the one hand, you could say, yes, it's spring training, those issues are going to be, but the fact that he's just having such laborious innings, that's where I'm kind of, what's really going on here. So we're really going to have to see. But that opening day mark for Daniel Hudson isn't something that I'm really kind of targeting. Is he going to make the trip to South Korea? We just don't know. If he's healthy, he probably will. But is he going to be a big contributor? That's just something results based early on. So I'd like to get Blake. I want to know what Blake has to say about Daniel Hudson, just because he hates relief pitchers so much. But it's true that, Daniel Hudson's been out for quite a bit of time. He just might have to a lot of cobwebs to shake.
Yeah, and if you look at Hudson, so his game against the Angels, like we said, was Hudson's fourth appearance of the spring.
Yeah,
he's issued a walk in 3 of the 4. Yep. He issued 1 walk in his first 2 games, which came February 24th, February 28th. He pitched March 2nd against the Cubs, didn't allow a walk, but did give up a home run. And then tonight against the Angels, he did issue a walk. He also gave him a couple hits, like we mentioned. He wasn't done any favors by the Dodgers not turning a double play, so that sort of was a factor as well. But we're looking at let's see, that's 3 walks in a span of 3 2/3 innings. So as Scott mentioned, that's not like Hudson, and it could be something to sort of monitor as we move forward. The next topic for tonight, which I think was probably the headline. I feel bad for Bobby Miller, because he's been, everybody's been overshadowed by Ohtani, but Miller's first start was Ohtani's first game. Now his second start is Ohtani's first game against the Angels. And so Miller is sort of a little bit of a subplot, if you will. So Ohtani spent a portion of pregame tonight before first pitch, catching up with a lot of his former teammates, shaking hands, smiling. He posed for pictures with Mike Trout. And then I think some of the Angels juju rubbed off on him, because he went 0 for 3 in the game before he came out. He had reached in 7 consecutive plate appearances before his first at bat. Scott, results are always great, and we've seen the home run, the triple, I think he has an RBI single as well. But I think the biggest thing with Ohtani is just sort of his continued progress toward getting ready for opening day.
Yeah, tonight's the first night of his, back-to-back. He'll be out there again tomorrow, reportedly. So that's biggest thing, just getting those at-bats, chipping away at that, at-bat mark that Ohtani really set out for himself. And by all accounts, and all the numbers add up for him, wherever he's taking swings, if we don't see them, he's chipping away at that. So he'll be ready to go. Power's clearly there. Elbow looks like it's good to go. He's not wincing at anything. It's just, structurally, everything looks very sound. He's a mountain of a man, and results are results, goes 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts, but it's okay. He's getting the feel. He's getting the timing. He said, we wrote a little bit today that more so he's just caring about timing. He doesn't care about anything else. Results are great, just like you said, but timing is everything. Timing is everything in baseball. He's very focused on that. Reunion against the Angels, that's, it is what it is. It was going to happen eventually. There was one moment where Ohtani was up to the plate and they panned to Trout, and I was like, man, I really want to know what he's thinking right now. Like, that's one thing that I would love to know what Mike Trout's thinking, looking across and saying, he's in blue, man, that looks pretty good.
Do you think maybe Trout was sitting there wondering, man, I should have forced my way to the Dodgers a few years ago?
Should have forced his way somewhere. I feel bad. Like, it's something, it's always admirable for a player like a Hall of Fame guy to stay at one team, but he's had the opportunity to win. He knows exactly what he was signing up for. Ohtani just wants to be great. He wants to play in a competitive, organization. He gave everything he had early on, 6 years to the Angels, and he laid it all out. He probably played last year longer than he should have, without a doubt. So that just shows how much he wanted to win. He didn't, even when they were in the dumps. That was tough writing about for a few months for me, but it was really, he gave everything for him. Even when Trout wasn't there, Trout tried to make his way back, but it was Ohtani, one-man band. So now, he's here, he's healthy, and we'll see him as just a pure designated hitter. And by all accounts, I mean, he's still going to be one of the top hitters in the league, even just with that ability. Yeah.
And so I see here a pretty funny comment that I'll put up. Justin Lamas says Trout wants to watch Eagle games in October.
He's going to watch Philly games in October.
I mean, I forget, I know we did a few videos when the rumors surfaced during the offseason of, the Dodgers maybe preparing to go after Trout as well. It was before Ohtani signed.
Yeah.
Was that something you were in favor of? I forget if you and I did a video together on it.
If we did, then I would hope that if somebody goes back, that my answer was no. Like, it's such a loaded contract for a guy who's just not on the field. More so just injury stuff. Like, it's hard. How much the money involved between that and the prospects it would be like a Mookie type trade with the whole contract already involved. How much money is going to shift? I probably said that, it's just way too much work to have to deal with. That ship's kind of sailed. We know Trout at one point or another is going to get hurt. And that just doesn't line up. Your best ability is availability, and Trout's not available. Unfortunately, like, he's, at one point best player on the planet, and he's kind of in pushed back to, a couple spots back in the line, if not a lot, with where he is. So, but he's been given it all. 3-time MVP, right? So he's done a bunch. He should have more. Decorated guy, but it's kind of superstar player. I'm going to say past his prime. It's past the point where consistency is, something that's not really expected with him. So it stinks. It stinks for baseball, but I don't know how much of a light will be on the Angels, and that's something that's upsetting as a fan of baseball, because Trout's such a premier player when he's healthy and rare, and like, it stinks. So I feel for the guy.
I mean, I can answer. It wasn't a question, but I can fill you in that there will not be any sort of light on the Angels at all this season.
Nothing, man. That sucks, man. Thanks, Artie.
Yeah, let's get back to the Ohtani angle. As you mentioned, Ohtani did tell reporters tonight that his plan is to be in the lineup again on Wednesday. So it's going to be his first time playing back-to-back. That was sort of the original schedule that Dave Roberts laid out, I think late last weekend. And then Dave Roberts said before Tuesday's game against the Angels that actually the Ohtani would not be in the lineup on Wednesday after all. And some of that was, which I thought it was kind of weird too, when Dave did say that he was, because their Dodgers are playing a night game tonight on Tuesday, and then Wednesday is an afternoon game. So sort of a kind of a quick turnaround for Ohtani in terms of, he is coming off of the oblique issue and right elbow surgery. Obviously, the elbow surgery gets the majority of the attention, but obliques can be kind of tricky, even though it has been several months since he did experience some of the irritation. But Ohtani then said after he came out of the game against the Angels that, yes, he'll be in the lineup against the Giants. And I think kind of back to the question I first asked you about it, most encouraging is he said he doesn't view his elbow as sort of being in rehab mode anymore, that he's now full blown preparing for the season.
That's terrific. Yeah, no, it's that's definitely where he was targeting. That's a lot of the questions that, fans, even us, we're asking, what really is going to be kind of his schedule. I know all the reporters there every single day, hoping to see Ohtani, even on the backfields. I mean, the entire goal is not to, make sure he's out every day. It's making sure when he's out there, it's because his health is lining up with that timeline. And by all accounts, it's lining up perfectly, exactly the way they should. So whoever is advising Ohtani, Dodger staff, if he has his own people there, he's been fantastic all off season. Shout out to Fire Eyes and getting out of that. But everything's lining up for him. So $700 million deferred, man, is lining up to be exactly what we want. But I really want to see him hit that at bat limit. So maybe that gets off his mind and he can kind of let it rip. So he's ready to go by opening day when they go to South Korea. I'm excited for Blake to get to see that. I know everybody is too. He looks good. He looks good in the blue, batting number 2. How do you feel about the lineup so far? You like the 1, 2, 3?
Yeah. So I was going to say, honestly, the bulk of my attention has gone to the first 3 guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have, it's done better than I thought. I would have done, I think, Mookie, Freeman, Ohtani. And
Okay.
I know
Why's that?
that I know that your computers and all the computers say put your best hitter in the 2-hole and fine. I felt like, I guess there's 2 arguments. One, I feel like if you go Mookie, Freeman 1 and 2, that you have a pretty good opportunity for having multiple runners on base for Ohtani.
Mm-hmm.
Where to me, it seems advantageous to have 2 guys than 1. The other side of it is, and this ties into how much you believe in sort of lineup protection and all that. Do you want Freddie Freeman hitting behind Ohtani, or maybe Will Smith or Max Muncy? And if you look at it that way, then I would probably want Freeman. So I could talk myself into both of it, but if I was doing it, if my initial thought would have been, let's just do Mookie, Freeman, Ohtani.
I get it. I totally understand. I understand everybody's like every angle from it, but I'm gonna, I know Blake's gonna line up with me. Does he say you're yelling at clouds?
Yeah.
Lay off my guy, man. Come on, Blake. What are you doing? Where are you? Show yourself. But I like Freeman in the 3 just for the fact that if you pitch around, so say Mookie gets on, or even without, if you pitch around Ohtani, then you get Freddie up to plate, who is notoriously an any ball type of hitter, bad ball, good ball, doesn't matter. He'll put the ball in play. If you ask him to, he'll work a count if you need him to. So I think with, say, Ohtani's on base, Freddie's up there, then you have to pitch to him, or you don't. And then if that's the case, then whoever's in the 4-hole, this is where the argument for me, the 3 I like right now, Mookie, Ohtani, Freddie. But then the argument gets totally interesting in the 4. Like, who would you like? I think Teoscar is someone that I would, without a doubt, like to see more in the cleanup spot. Who just hit that? Don't know. Somebody fill me in. But I would for sure like to see Teoscar Hernandez in the 4 spot. If Will Smith has come back full and healthy and he's kind of got over the injury stuff he had last year, that's when it gets really interesting. But Freddie Freeman, comfortability wise, he's had, I think it's almost 4,000 something around at bats in the 3 spot.
Yeah.
So I know somebody mentioned in chat that comfortability matters so much. But the RBI guy thing of having 2 people on in front is definitely in how they've done it the last 2 seasons a little bit, right? Or this last year they had 2 top 5 MVP finishes with Mookie and Freddie. So, you could go both ways, but I'm more in the camp that you have your best hitter batting 2, and Freddie Freeman, comfortability wise, and with his ability to hit anything in the 3 spot, gives him more opportunities to do some damage there. So we might see record numbers again for Freddie Freeman, just for the people that he has on base in front of him.
Yeah, those are great points. And I think the most comforting thing is, no matter how you ordered, really 1, 2, or 3. I mean, I guess Mookie made sense in the leadoff spot. Like, I didn't see him going down to 2nd or 3rd, so he was pretty much locked in. So no matter how you decided on Ohtani and Freeman, whatever order, there's not a quote unquote wrong choice, right?
Correct.
To your secondary point, who's hitting cleanup could end up being more important. And I do agree with you. Teoscar Hernandez, I like him as maybe a sleeper pick to potentially slug his way up into that. If Will Smith at his peak can more than handle it, but we have seen Will Smith, go through inconsistent stretches, whether it was fatigue in the second half or maybe some injury stuff sort of settling in and affecting him, maybe lingering. But yeah, that'll all be something to monitor. But again, we were that segment did begin with focusing on Ohtani, and so if you missed it, his plan is indeed to end up playing back-to-back days. It'll be the first time he's done so far this spring. I did see a question earlier asking about the game. It starts at 12, I believe 12:05 or maybe 12:10 Pacific tomorrow. Let me check that for you really quick. 12:05 Pacific. It will be on Sportsnet LA. They are televising pretty much every game this spring, and it'll also be Ohtani's first time playing on the road. The Dodgers are going to be facing the Giants down at Scottsdale Stadium, so that'll be sort of interesting to see. Not like it's not the regular season, obviously, but how many maybe Dodger fans make it down to Scottsdale to catch him playing on the road for the first time?
Nice area. You'll see a lot of them.
Yeah. So that does it for what Scott and I had planned in terms of going over news and doing some sort of a post-game recap. And
can we cut into, I want to get your thoughts on I know this is a topic we haven't really talked about. Is Justin Wilson kind of making a case to be considered like heavily? Like, he's done some damage. He's got 8 strikeouts and 3 outings so far. He's put in work. Like, he's very interesting. Like, he's an arm that people really should take note of. Like, he's not just going he's not just a random ad. He's not a minor league guy just filling innings. Like, he's a real threat to actually be in consideration. So that's an arm that if he can limit actual damage, he's striking out a ton. Like, he's getting a lot of whiff. So I'm excited about him. We haven't talked about that at all.
Yeah. And so before I answer that, and before we take questions from everybody, and a reminder, just start it with question in all caps. It makes it easier for Scott and I to kind of pluck it out from the chat. Blake is here to save us by correcting me that yes, tomorrow is Wednesday, which means the Dodgers are playing the White Sox. It is a home game for the White Sox, but unfortunately Shohei Ohtani, or fortunately for him, I guess, he is not needing to travel. He gets to still play at Camelback Ranch. So Blake, thank you for catching that. And I apologize if you heard me going on and on about the Giants and Scottsdale Stadium. To Scott's point, though, if you are planning on making it out to Scottsdale, that is a nice area and there's plenty to do there. I think Justin Wilson is certainly an interesting option out of the bullpen. Blake and I were talking during Sunday's show about bullpen construction and different things in Alex Vesia. And as much as I think the Dodgers do have Bruce Gratterall, Evan Phillips, Blake Trinan, all these guys who can sort of handle left-handed hitters, it's a little, at least for me, the traditionalist in me, if you will, or as Blake might put it, it's the person who's yelling at the clouds. It's a little concerning to maybe only have possibly one left-handed pitcher in your bullpen, and especially if Vesia is struggling. And so, yeah, to your point, Justin Wilson, would it fully surprise me if he comes up maybe early in the year? Not completely.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. So a lot has to shake out with who's available. A lot is hinging on Daniel Hudson and what he's going to bring to the table. And if there's a spot down there in the bullpen, perhaps they give Justin Wilson a look early on. And if they don't, maybe they'll look to move him. But he's one of those, minor league guys that has the possibility of making the team, or they'll find a home for him, which the Dodgers usually do pretty well by players and put them in a spot where they'll get some run, which I really do appreciate about the Dodgers organization. They've done that for years, and that's just something that at the end of spring training, there's one guy, I forgot who it was it Brad Miller? I think Brad Miller, yeah, that one for me is stands out the most, raking and doesn't make it, and they traded him to a great spot, goes off. So yeah, I just, I feel like that could happen to him, but he's definitely an intriguing lefty. So, and it fills a need. So I'm with you. I'm not saying I'm the old man yelling at clouds, but if they do need those extra left-handed arms, they need maybe one more. He's putting himself to be, a very solid option.
Yeah, you weren't with us at the time during the Brad Miller area, but let me tell you, Starkand was a big Brad Miller guy, and that's why we tagged him in a MLB Trade Rumors when they put out the article that I think Brad Miller did he sign or get traded to the Padres? He's with the Padres now. And Starkin sort of joked that, the Tatis and Machado need a little bit of lineup protection. So I see Blake saying Brad Miller fans rise up. So Brad Miller certainly had some fans amongst our staff. let's get into the questions, though. I have seen some good ones here. Let's start with giving Scotty a chance to do a little bragging. Blake wants to know, what was the batted ball data on Nora's single yesterday? So if you missed it, Scott did tweet late last night. His daughter was playing in a softball league, got her first hit. We got a text from Scott how excited he was. We were happy for him, and obviously Nora as well. So Scott, we need the StatCast data on that.
Loud. That's all I got. I don't have any. So for the record, she's not, this is her first experience ever. Like, she joined late signups. She's 8 years old. Kids start usually like 5, 6 years old. So we were a really late sign up, but she doesn't understand. We'll go in the back and like play catch. We've done that for a few years, do some little like batting practice, like just throw a ball, hit it, and hit me in the face a few times, which was the best. But as a dad, I know everybody in here, if you got kids or you just love seeing, get little kids happy. Nora struck out 3 times in her first game. Last week was in the rain. It was painful because, she had a big smile on her face. But for me, it was like, there's some things she just doesn't know about. We worked on a couple things. I just put in her mind, if it's high, let it fly, low, let it go. And she hung on that all week. I taught her a little bit of a different swing, how to load her weight up on her back leg. And then last night she swings and misses at the first pitch. And it just looked different. It looked like second pitch comes in, bang, rips one to the third baseman, can't glove it, beats it out at first base. And all the dads just 180 and run up to me, high five. And it was so cool. Nora was so hyped. It was the best. I bought her a Slurpee today. Shout out to Nora, man. I love it,
there
man.
We go.
Yeah, I'm juiced.
There
Grinning.
we go.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that was great. We're looking forward to more updates, more Nora hits from Scott. Let's see. So I did see, get back to the Dodgers a little bit. Matthew Beck says breakout season for Gavin Lux. I feel like Lux is a polarizing player and topic. Heading into the spring, I think there was some reason to be hopeful that, maybe this year would be different than some of the past couple ones have gone. I think the biggest concerns with Lux have sort of reared their head multiple times so far. But Scott, what do you think we might see from Luxy?
Hopefully better defense. That's for one thing. I mean, that's same thing. Long layoff. Don't want to get Blake on here because he'll just stand on his soapbox, stare in the camera, and let us have it. But that was the hype for him heading into 2023. That he was headed for that breakout because everything the year prior was exactly that. In 2022, he showed himself to be a real. They called him a second leadoff man, so it was a big thing. They really, it was not a thing that they hinged on, but at certain points of the year, he created a spark. Like, he made a flub and then he would come up and he would have a hit. And you could see that confidence building with him, which was super important, which is why there was so much hype surrounding him going into 2023. And then he gets hurt. So now going into this year, it's more so about health. And if that's going to translate, repeatability, he's swinging the bat well right now, but I think so much has to do with defense and lining those two up, because I feel like he's a player that both things have to be going right, especially because he's still so young. I think he's 25 now. He's 26. So he's 26. So I think that he's in a very pivotal spot in his career. I think both of those have to line up. He has to get better defensively. Hopefully it's just a rust there, but he's swinging a hot bat at the moment. So we'll just see if the power is there. I think he's going to put it together. So I'm going to hang that. I don't really make predictions. You never see me do that much, but I'm going to say Luxy has a good time, and we kind of fend off the Willie Adames to the Dodgers rumors for a bit.
Yeah, I think what's challenging or difficult with Lux's situation is, he went a year without playing baseball.
Yeah,
and so it's reasonable to, in my view, to sort of expect or be willing to give him some room to knock on. Like, there's a lot, like, that's hard to go a full year without playing baseball and then get back into it is challenging, in both defensively, both at the plate. I do worry though that we may run into a situation where maybe he can't necessarily get out of his own way, where, if he has a throwing error or a ball gets by him, does it frustrate him? And then does that linger at the plate? And does it, impact him that way? Does he mentally, start questioning himself? And he's not the only player who would be susceptible to something like that. Baseball is a difficult sport. We hear it from these guys all the time. And mentally, it could be taxing on you if you're not struggling and you start pressing. And so then my worry is that my concern is that going to sort of fester and kind of feed itself and then prevent Lux from really being able to sort of reach his potential. And honestly, like he may need what 2 months into the regular season before he feels like his legs are kind of underneath him. And so,
Yeah.
but getting to that point without, maybe having some real down struggles, like, is he going to be able to do it? Is he going to, and I'm not questioning how mentally strong he is. I think he is, but it's human nature that when you start struggling, you start sort of second guessing yourself and you become frustrated and then you start pressing. And so, will that then just end up making his situation worse? And so that'll be something to sort of monitor.
Great points. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Like, I think he's just so like that confidence guy. And like, if he had one's lacking, he has to kind of pick up the other thing. And I think that the offensive talents there, I love his left-handed swing. He's a spark plug. And so much was about his athleticism. And that's why him in the 8th or 9th spot is incredibly valuable, because he's so fast. He can create, stuff with his legs, especially now with the new rules. He hasn't played with that. So I'm super curious to see when he's on base, how much havoc he can, really turn up then. So this is just another element to the Dodgers lineup where in years past, it was like, okay, well, there's been like a minor drop off at the back end. I would say it's a pretty big drop off depending on Austin Barnes' availability, but Gavin Lux in the 8th or the 9th, there's some serious upside there. Miguel Rojas, we know what we're getting defensively. Sure-handed defensive glove, head and shoulders above where Gavin Lux is at, but offensively, there's just it's a wet noodle, unfortunately. And that's where Gavin Lux can kind of bridge that gap. It's just, we haven't seen him look super comfortable there. So just like you said, get those legs, get that stamina back up. And I would think, just like you said, to take a couple months, and then we'll really know. So I would say about the All-Star break, couple months in, we'll see him at his full potential. I know we're seeing Gavin Lux All-Star game, guys. I know, right? Relax. Relax. I'm there with you, but let's just simmer down.
Here's a quick question from NS, who won today. So as I think Scott was maybe in the middle of one of his answers, the Dodgers and Angels did go final. The Angels shut out the Dodgers 4-0. So that's that. We appreciate you guys joining us. Like I said, if you're with us at the beginning of the show, we started it in the 8th inning. We thought we would sort of read and react as stuff was going on and just get kind of the ball rolling on some discussion. And we've seen, thank you. We see everybody joining us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. The chat is rolling, and we appreciate you guys who are in here with us. Related to the Gavin Lux discussion, Rod says in 2002, Lux probably the second fastest Dodger. Post-serious injury, does he still have that level of speed? I mean, he's not there yet, right? Like, and I don't know, like there's no reason to believe that he would be to that point right now. The conditioning and off-season workouts and rehab, all that stuff you can do is great, but you don't really get to fully test yourself until you're in game situations. And these are still spring training, so it is a step forward from off-season workouts, but we're probably not going to see how much of that top-end speed Lux may still have. I don't think he's going to be able to fully replicate it, but maybe he ends up getting close.
Have we seen him turn it up yet? I'm looking through his game logs real quick to see if he's kind of he had any.
So I don't know. He might have had one instance where he went first to third and he looked okay, but it wasn't like, oh man, like, yeah, he's fully back. But again, and I saw, let me see, somebody said that if it takes Lux 2 months, he shouldn't be starting. I think that's not entirely fair.
Yeah, that's tough.
Any player going a full year without playing baseball is going to need a little bit of time to get their legs under them. And, maybe it's quote unquote 2 months, but Lux has had 1 month of spring training games. And so maybe then it's only 1 month during the regular season that he sort of needs to fully get everything going and kind of back into a rhythm again.
If it gets, if it takes him 2 months, would you just want to put him on a platoon that's against what you were looking out of as a starting shortstop? You let him go out there, go through the growing pains, get his body used to playing every single day. If all health is green, then what's the problem? Like, if his results just don't line up, that's great. Look at your top 3, look at your top 5, look at your top 6. It's okay. Like, not everybody in your lineup has to be, playing at or as a premier superstar level. Like, there's going to be enough where they're okay letting Gavin Lux find his stride. And I think everybody, if they actually look at that, they'll lay a little bit off of him. Like, it's okay. Gavin Lux, if they're hinging on that and they refrain from making a big move at the shortstop position and didn't sign Trey Turner, thank goodness. then you need to see what Gavin Lux is with his knee, see where it's at, and watch everything line up. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, then they'll go make a move. But you have to give him that. You have to give him that everyday run, just like they did with Miguel Vargas. Like, you watched him every single day, and it was painful. You're just going to say no to Gavin Lux just because it's going to take him a little bit of time to watch his body heal? Ridiculous. Yeah. Settle down. It's like, settle down, guys. Give him a break.
Yeah, I agree. I'm seeing some questions and comments about Max Muncy. Yeah, we didn't touch on it earlier, but Muncy was hit by a pitch in the right knee. Unfortunately, it was late in the game. I think maybe the 6th or 7th inning. It might have been right before we came on. So 6th or 7th inning. So he was taken out right away, which regardless of what happened to that at bat, he probably was going to be coming out at that point anyway. But yeah, that's going to be something for the Dodgers to sort of monitor. Muncy was just hit by a pitch in his left hand, I think it was, the other day. And so he missed the game, and then he was back in the lineup, and he said, he got a base hit his first at bat. And he said that was nice just to sort of clear the mental hurdle and reset yourself after getting hit by a pitch. But yeah, we'll have to see what happened now, because if he misses any sort of extended time, things get a little interesting for the Dodgers with how they fill third base. And then not only that, but then the domino effect with other guys. And I know your guy Miggy V could end up being part of that conversation again. So it'll be something to monitor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's something I don't know if we really want to get to, because Max Muncy is such a piece. Like, he's such a key piece to that offense. Just, he'll take another step forward. Like, how much of a regression did he go through? Like, it's just he is who he is. He's a true outcome type of guy. But he's such a veteran bat so far. It's crazy to me, because it makes me feel like I'm getting old really fast. But he's been around for so long. We've expected him to be exactly who he is. He's going to go out and hit you 30 plus homers, driving 100. And you need those guys in the offense. Couldn't care less about the strikeouts. Don't care about his batting average. High OBP. Hope he's healthy, because I really don't want to have to rotate guys at third base. But Chris Taylor's somebody who they could probably deal with that. They could land him there. He's solid there.
Yeah, and that's what Hawaiian Kira is asking. I thought CT3 was the backup at third. He is, and again, like that, then they'll thrust Taylor into, literally an everyday job at just one position, though. And so it's more of kind of the ripple effect after that if the Dodgers need to replace Muncy at third base. And I mean, not only are you needing to fill it defensively and in the field, but like you said, what Muncy sort of brings to the Dodgers lineup, nobody else necessarily replicates that. And, Taylor's can be a little streaky, but he doesn't have the power that Muncy has shown. So that, would sort of change things. Let's see. We did have, so Alleluia says, does Chris Matt get called up? Don't see anything that impresses. And I have heard that you were the perfect person to ask about Nabil Chrismat, that I was told, quote, he's Scotty's guy.
Ooh, that sounds like a Jeff line. Get out of here, Jeff. Shush. You're not here to defend this. Yeah. Chris Matt would have been fun. He's a fun guy. That's all it is. He has a nice changeup at times. Doesn't mean I said he was going to be great. But yeah, he's heading straight for a DFA, unfortunately. That was a rough one. I'll take that 0 for 1. Kira, chalk that up. Write that on the whiteboard at home. Nice 0 for 1 for me on that. But yeah, he's looked very pedestrian, just exactly like his minor league deal is just that, very unimpressive. And that's all I have to say. No more comments on Nabil Chrismat. Thank you.
I mean, look, the good thing is Chrismat is a minor league contract, so he could start the season in OKC. And if he wants to opt out and leave, then, no real harm done there. Or the flip side is he goes to OKC, he gets, maybe refine something, fixes something, and then, maybe he's up at the middle of the year for a couple of weeks and, helps the Dodgers bullpen at some point.
He'll turn into what Kevin Quackenbush did for me. I was all in that for a bit, screaming quack, quack, and then he just didn't look good in the bigs. Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah. Let's see. So I'm not seeing a whole lot of new questions. Remember, just please start it with question in all caps. That helps Scott and I pick it out. But while we're waiting for some more, Scott, let's touch on I guess it's food. Do you consider ice cream food? No, I mean dessert.
I'm still not a dessert guy, but hit me.
Okay, so and we'll react to some of the chat. We want everybody's feedback as well. Is pistachio an acceptable ice cream flavor?
Yes. Absolutely.
That's what I said. I'll give you one guess who disagrees with that.
Is it Jeff?
No.
Matt? Is it Blake?
Yes.
I mean, Blake's. I mean, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Come on. Have you had somebody mention to me like finishing salt on ice cream is terrific? Have you had that before? That's a real big deal.
I've not had that. I think I've seen it. And so
pistachio's great.
People are agreeing with us. Hawaiian Kira says pistachio is great. NS says pistachio ice cream is delicious. Don Kim says yes, it's acceptable. So, Blake, here's just another instance of you being wrong again.
Weep, buddy. It's okay. Yeah, just like Blake's idea of sushi is a cream cheese and avocado roll.
That actually when you mentioned being excited for Blake to get to see Ohtani playing in South Korea because he's tracking, to be in the lineup for opening day. I forgot to bring up that yes, we're going to need a selfie of Blake with his McDonald's bag, kind of at the stadium, soaking in just the whole South Korea environment.
So sick. Blake's going to own me because he's going to be having the time of his life there, hanging out, enjoying it, watching ball. Oh my gosh. I will make sure to send him a return selfie sitting on my bed, crisscross applesauce. Yeah. Yep. With my Greek yogurt and melted peanut butter on top while he's just enjoying the time of his life in South Korea. Dang.
Here's Rod has another question for us. I think he's asked this a couple times. I'm not sure we've gotten to it. He wants to know, when you were kids, who was your favorite Dodger?
There he is. Adrian Beltre, baby. That was my guy, number 29. I got yelled at by so many coaches for trying to mirror his batting stance. Without a doubt, they're like, "Why are you doing a closed stance?" Yeah. They're right. But yeah, Todd Hollinsworth, loved him. Raul Mondesi was big. My dad was big on Raul Mondesi. Just loved that. Eric Karros, yeah, all those. I found some cool stuff today. I'll send to you some real rookie year stuff. Let's see. It's like back-to-back rookies, Mike Piazza, Eric Karros ball. It's really cool. But that was mine for me. I've got 4 or 5.
That's awesome. I was a big Piazza guy, even though I didn't play catcher as a kid. I thought he was, probably my favorite player. Then I liked Karros. Mondesi was cool too. So I got a little bit older, then it quickly became Kershaw. But at that point, I wasn't necessarily a kid. But yeah, so let's see. We're getting some good responses to this here. Hawaiian Kira says Steve Garvey. TQT says Eric Gagne. Here's City Boy Chad with Mike Piazza reference.
I'm waiting to see somebody super random, really random. If someone hit me with a Billy Butler, I would just lose my skull.
Don Kim with the old Raul chant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Here's a throwback. Roy says Don Drysdale.
Man.
BC says Ramirez. I'm assuming Hanley and not Manny.
Yeah, but you could be both, and you're totally right in all that.
Here, BC also has a question. He wants to know, is Scott the second best athlete after Daniel?
I'm for sure number 1.
Ooh.
I'm for sure number 1.
You're not even saying second. You're taking the number 1 spot.
I'm for sure number 1. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm peaking. I'm 31. I'm still peaking. Yeah.
All right. We're gonna have to have Daniel back on the show one night. So
BC is turning myself and Daniel again. No. It's the battle's been. We need to see Daniel on the mound, Blake in the box, mano a mano, 3 at bats. That's it.
But then if you're saying that you're the number 1 athlete, then don't you then have to get in the box against Daniel as well?
I'm going deep.
Okay. Well,
I'll lay down a bunt, see if he can.
Blake has said the same thing. All right. Here's Blake saying me and Scott taking live BP against Daniel soon. Yeah, we are going to have to finally just set that up.
Yep.
Here, GI has a question about the Dodgers bullpen. I know, Scott, we discussed some of this earlier. So he wants to know the possibility that neither Hudson nor Fireisen make the opening day roster.
I think JP's got I think JP's kind of on track to do that. I think Daniel Hudson, I think he's sticking in the organization. Even if he doesn't make the opening day roster, I think that's something that he would be fine just sticking around with. He's not going to opt out of his contract. I think JP more so, but I don't think both. I think JP Fireisen's he did labor a bit tonight, but he'll still be around. I think JP more so has a couple lengths above Daniel Hudson. on the opening day roster.
Yeah, I agree with you. Going back to the favorite Dodger when you were a child question, here's one. History Man 0828 says Jason Repko. Well, then he says LOL JK. So I thought for a second there that was going to be your obscure reference. Here's some good one from Fujitora Moya, Sean Green, or LaDuca. Those are some solid options.
Paul LaDuca, man. What about I want to see somebody say like Olmedo signs. That was fun stuff, man.
I haven't seen that yet. But so here's another question from Christopher Martinez. Who is the starting rotation at the beginning of the season?
You want to hit it first?
Sure. I'll try. So I think Yamamoto starting opening day.
Yep.
Then Glasnow will be slotted behind him. Bobby Miller third. Why am I spacing on? Why am I blanking on the fourth guy right now?
Big Maple, baby.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. James Paxton. Yeah. Blake. I'm going to hear it from Blake in the comments any second.
I got you, Blake. I got you, Blake.
Yeah. James Paxton is fourth or fifth in my book. And then the fifth starter, basically the biggest question mark is going to be filled, I think, by Gavin Stone. Looking at Michael Grove has labored a little bit. And also, like I was mentioning to Blake on Sunday, each of Grove's games have been out of the bullpen, which they are still stretching him out as a starter, but he's been pitching in relief every time. Ryan Yarbrough, Dave Roberts did just say the other day that they view him as more of a swingman, which is what I think we all sort of anticipated with them using a 6-man rotation, but not calling it a 6-man rotation at times. And then the other option was Emmett Sheehan, and he's been slowed by some body soreness, and so he's fallen kind of behind. So a little bit by default, a little bit to Stone's credit, he's also pitched well, and so I think that's the rotation. And I put it in order. I'll leave James Paxton fourth, and I think Stone is the proverbial fifth starter in a literal and figurative sense.
Yeah, I agree. Straight through. It's great to see Gavin Stone kind of. He's earned it a little bit. I would say your fifth starter, he's earned it a bit. Do you like Ryan Yarbrough in that swing man? I know he did that a lot last year. Do you like him in that? I think it's a valuable tool for what they've kind of said but haven't said with what they're doing with their starting rotation. So he kind of fits the exact like perfect mold without locking in a surefire 6-man roto. I think that's just. Do you like him in that?
Yeah, I think that was the best. That's the best usage for him with this team.
Yeah.
Had they only kept him in the bullpen as a multi-inning guy or only used him in the rotation, I thought was going to be not the best use of his versatility. And so, yeah, like you said, he fits. He's able to do that well. They did a little bit with him last year where, he was maybe an extended opener where he could go 3 innings instead of the 1 or 2 that you might get from an opener type thing. And so it makes sense because, they're going to look to give Yamamoto, I think, as much rest as possible between starts without overworking, to make sure they don't overwork him as he still adjusts to pitching on an MLB schedule and just getting used to everything, the travel, the baseball, all that different stuff. So yeah, I think Yarbrough in that swingman role is it's a perfect fit.
Absolutely. Also, like the next one, I kind of have to ask is, where are you on Landon Knack? Like, at what point do you feel like he could be an actual contributor? Because I know we weren't surprised. We know kind of there's a couple arms ahead of him without starting the clock. Reached AAA last year. He's an interesting guy.
He is. To me, he's more of like if he's up before the All-Star break, it's because stuff has gone seriously wrong, either performance-wise or injuries.
Correct.
So he's a late season guy to me. Andrew Friedman I asked Andrew Friedman when we were covering the Dodgers Love LA community tour before Fan Festival back in January. Landon Knack was at some of the different events. So I asked Friedman just kind of about getting him involved and stuff like that. And he mentioned, Friedman did, that he anticipates Knack making his MLB debut this year. So obviously he didn't say when, but I know you kind of implied it that he was just sent down to minor league camp. And so he's still eligible to pitch in Cactus League games, but I'm with you. I was a little surprised that he went down this early. I thought that he's shown well so far, but still, all that being said, I think he's more, second half type guy.
Yeah. I agree.
Let's see. I saw a question here. Now I can't find it. My apologies as I scroll through here. Oh, here. Realist Raider says home opener question mark. And this question popped up while we were discussing, I think, the starting rotation. And I mentioned I see Yamamoto being the opening day starter. So if you have to make a prediction, who do you think's getting the Dodger Stadium opener?
I want to say Tyler Glasnow, man. I think Tyler Glasnow would be a great one against the big Lance Lynn. We're gonna kind of pencil that in. Yep.
Yeah, and if that's probably something we'll be covering in the next couple days. But what Scott is alluding to is Sonny Gray is it hamstring tightness or is it a full blown strain?
I'd have to check in on that, but it's pretty. Yeah, they're kind of concerned, so he's going to get pushed back a little bit.
Yeah, so some sort of hamstring injury is likely going to prevent Sonny Gray from starting for the Cardinals on their opening day, which is the Dodger Stadium opener. And so there's a petition that Scott has started to get Lance Lynn to start that game for St. Louis instead.
Free fireworks, guys. Free fireworks.
I'm not sure if this is the best question for Scott, but let's put it up just in case. Don Kim says, best chili in LA is...
I have no clue. I don't live in LA. I'm out in Ventura County.
Well, I mean, that still counts, but I'll take this one. I'm going Tommy's. I know that the hat and pinks have their fervent, they're strong supporters, but I'm going Tommy's, especially if you have chili from the original Tommy's that is in the kind of downtown LA area, not too far from Dodger Stadium. It's better than just sort of the regular drive-through ones. Let's see what else we have here. I did see one about the media guide. Let me try finding it. Yeah, here we go. Hawaiian Kira says, with the media guide out, who would your 4 be on the cover? So if you missed it, the Dodgers media guide for the 2024 season is Will Smith, Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman. Right? I got that correct?
Yeah.
So, Scott, if you need to put your own quartet together, who are you going with?
Mookie, Freddie, Ohtani, and I'm super surprised it wasn't Yamamoto. Maybe they just couldn't. Maybe it wasn't signed yet when they took that photo. I think they would have a redo if they did, but I was really surprised that it wasn't Yamamoto.
Yeah. I was surprised that it wasn't Yamamoto as well. I think I'm taking the same 3 you named, but instead of Yamamoto, instead of Will Smith, I am going Tyler Glasnow. I think it's cool for, kind of the hometown kid. He's also signed to a contract extension, so it's not like he's just the 1-year rental.
Yeah.
So put him up on the media guide. You could make an argument for Kershaw, but to your point, I'm not 100% sure how early that was sort of put together, and Kershaw obviously just signed last month, so maybe they couldn't plan on having him. Let's see. So our friend Blake, who has been plenty active. Blake, we're gonna have to get you on camera if you're gonna be this active in the chat. He says he would have gone with Austin Barnes, Miguel Rojas, Chris Taylor, and Jason Hayward. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, he ended it with grit in all caps. Scott, any thoughts on Blake's big 4?
Yeah, I'm gonna need Blake to, I need him to take a nice nap. Not going to bed. I need him to take a nap, and you need to settle down because that would cause a lot. That would cause a lot of people to have some heart palpitations after seeing that quartet.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna have to. You labeled them kind of the gritty Dodgers last year, and I felt like that sort of took off, being used kind of across different platforms and outlets and stuff like that. So we're gonna need. I'm gonna set a deadline of opening day. Well, do you need, I guess, here, let me ask this. Do you need to see the team play like in the regular season before you could give them a label, or are you able to do something like that in spring training?
I mean, last year there was kind of proving people wrong. It was mostly Blake. Like Blake was hitting it in the fields. I try not to be like blindly optimistic and be more of a realist with how stuff's going on, but it was more to own Blake. And then it really, they started to, I was like, the tidal wave's coming, Blake, you better watch out, man. You can hear the footsteps. And then they earned the right to be the gritty Dodgers, come back, and a lot of guys who are 1-year contracts not supposed to be there. And who better than us, Matt? Nobody. But I know it's a lot of just, hilarious stuff, but they earned that. And then what happened? Quiet Blake. But give me till give me like midway. Give me All-Star break, and then we'll know if it's like, the freight train, get off the tracks, man. Then that top threes they're coming. So we'll have to see. It's organic, Matt.
Okay.
You can't just force these type of things.
Okay. Fair. Yeah. Fair enough. All right. So we'll take a few more questions, and just a reminder, if you do have one for us, just please start it with question in all caps, so that way we could easily spot them as we're scrolling through. And it doesn't have to be about the Dodgers. It could be about anything that you've seen us discuss. Food tends to be a popular subject, although that's not necessarily in Scotty's wheelhouse. Maybe music. Scott, what would you like to be asked about that's off topic?
Anything. No. We can stay on. This is, I'm feeling good tonight. We'll go
right,
with,
there we go.
We'll go with whatever.
All right. Anything and everything. But lucky for you, we do have some baseball ones first. David Tran wants to know if there's any Max Muncy update. I have not seen anything yet. Blake, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. But Muncy was hit by a pitch in the right knee tonight. He came out right away again. I think he was going to be coming out of the game no matter what, just because at the point that it was at. And so we're waiting to see. He may not, if he's going to need like an x-ray or anything, it probably won't be happening until tomorrow morning. Players aren't necessarily playing back. Not everybody is playing back-to-back games just yet. So Muncy probably was going to be out of the lineup on Wednesday anyway. So we'll have to see how that goes. Christopher Martinez says, thoughts on Miguel Vargas coming up to the majors at some point this season. Scott, you're the big Miggy V guy, so this is right up your alley.
I said on the last one that I'm back now, and then he hits a pump off Payam, which was nice. I think that's kind of inevitable. I think we can safely say that we're in the zone where you have to find out what you have at him. He's done everything in AAA. If he's not doing it in the major leagues, we kind of know who he is. I hope that we don't know everything about who he is now. I would say it's kind of a 100% bet to see him, whether it's with the Dodgers or somebody else. I don't know, but I think it's a surefire bet to see he will be in the majors at some point this year somewhere.
All right, here's a good one, a little curveball to mix, or a changeup, I guess, if you will. History Man 0828 wants to know Xbox or PlayStation.
I mean, I'm an Xbox guy. I've been playing Xbox since forever. I played. I mean, I was on that, and then I was on PlayStation all the way up until when like PS2 Slim was out. But once I went to like Xbox 360 and all that, I switched over.
There we go. Scott knows the right side. Xbox all the way. It bothered me that the show was only on PlayStation for all those years, but that problem has been solved. And so now Xbox, you can get Halo, you can get MLB The Show, and this fall, or maybe this summer, technically it'll be, you're going to get college football will be back. And so those are the only 3 games you need.
You're looking at a top MLB show player in the world right here. How's it feel? Greatness? You feel like I'll brush a little bit off on you, man.
I do need some help in the show. I'm not very good at that game, but I blame it on the fact that it was on PlayStation all these years, and so I haven't been able to fully acclimate myself entirely. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
how that goes.
Even in my advanced age, my left knee might start to be bothering me, but my MLB The Show skills are top notch.
Here we go. Blake with another question for his friend Scott. He wants to know Marvel or Star Wars.
Oh, Star Wars.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that was Blake knew he was going to get the answer he wanted.
He did. Smart man.
All right, let's get back to here's a baseball one. Where do you all stand with Sheehan? So as I mentioned earlier, Sheehan was slowed and kind of fell behind in camp because he experienced some body soreness after throwing a bullpen session. So because of that, I think he's basically been ruled out for opening day type thing. But that aside, what do you think Sheehan's outlook for this season is?
Outlook, once he's built up, I mean, I'll just purely speak on what I think of him as a prospect. And I think that the ceiling, he doesn't really have one right now. I think sky's the limit for Emmett Sheehan. Just his fastball is so good. His slider really took a big step. Like he started to show at the back end of the year, a really different side of himself, which is why there was so much excitement for Emmett Sheehan. So I hope that this kind of remedies itself fairly quick and he can get back on the mound, get into a routine, build up. And then it becomes a problem for the Dodgers on, who they can lock into that back end of that rotation. We need to have a situation where it's too much quantity and quality. And then that's when we'll see this whole, marriage with all these, pitchers really come into effect. But I really want Emmett Sheehan to separate himself because I think the world of him. I think his talent is unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree. I think the body soreness is unfortunate because I thought, honestly, had that not happened, Sheehan was probably going to be the favorite to earn the fifth spot while we wait for Butane to come back. So yeah, a little bit delayed, but I think he should have another strong season.
Oh my God. Hold on. My mom's got to be trolling. She just said this. My daughter said this. Look. Put that one up there. Sorry, Corbin.
All right, Corbin, we'll come back to you. Let me find.
Nora's trolling right now.
Which one am I looking at?
Diane. Oh my God.
Oh, here we go.
Do you think Mookie? Nora said this. The guy's okay. Blake, this is insane. Do you think Mookie's bowling interest affects his baseball performance? Buggy. I call Nora Buggy. She's gonna laugh so hard when I go in there. No. With the smile on my face, I would say no because he still plays like an MVP, so he could do whatever he wants. Nora, go to bed. Bedtime, dude. You're gonna just trying to troll me.
Nora, thank you for watching and congratulations on your first hit. Let's go to Corbin. Corbin, thank you for bearing with us while we did that really quick. He wants to know, or she, I guess could maybe, right? Yeah, maybe. Corbin wants to know, why is there a Guggenheim patch on the sleeve? Sponsor patches are supposed to increase revenue, but they own the team. So how does that help? So I'll do my best to answer this. But Corbin, what I want to know from you is if your profile picture is a Bernedoodle. I think it's some sort of doodle. I'm thinking Bernedoodle because I have one as well. So I was just interested in that. But to your question, I was surprised that the Dodgers did go with Guggenheim on their sleeve as their first sort of jersey patch as well. But I know Blake did allude to it in the chat that the quote unquote short answer is that the Dodgers, Guggenheim opened an office in Japan. So there's a ton of Guggenheim branding now on the team. Japan is obviously tuning into the Dodgers because of Ohtani and Yamamoto. Guggenheim is also on a backdrop that the Dodgers use for Ohtani's media availability, Yamamoto's media availability. And I haven't really seen anybody else really stand in front of that backdrop. So Guggenheim is certainly doing plenty of work to establish some roots out in Japan, I think is what the thinking is there. And Corbin did confirm that it is a Bernedoodle. So that's awesome. Let's see here. Hawaiian Kira says, bobblehead, if Dodgers have a Marvel night, which player and which character is on the bobblehead?
That's a good one. I mean, would you say the easy one is Shohei? Would you say the easy one there?
Yeah, that could work. I think maybe Freddie Freeman is like a Captain America type thing could work as well.
Superpowers when he smiles, his teeth light up the world, or what?
Yeah, something like that. All right, let's see. So we're going to be on for just a couple more minutes. So if you have any final questions, get them in for Scott and I to answer. Here, NS says Haagen-Dazs or Ben & Jerry's. I'm not a huge fan of either one of these, but I guess if I had to pick, I'm probably going Haagen-Dazs instead of Ben & Jerry's.
I'm a big thrifty guy, so I'm just gonna go stick with that. Like, well, nice. I know it's the worst. Isn't strawberry like the worst ice cream for you? Right? I think something like that, like all the food coloring in there. But I love strawberry. Thrifty ice cream.
Yeah. Here, GI wants to know first Dodger to homer in 2024.
Do I continue the troll or do I say real things? So the troll in me says Austin Barnes to own everybody. But I think Mookie gets a first homer in 2024. I'm going to say Mookie.
I'm going with Ohtani. I think it is too perfect. I mean, they're not playing in Japan, but there's obviously a ton of interest in Ohtani and Yamamoto and the Dodgers in general with going to South Korea. And I think Ohtani gets, I think Ohtani homers in his first at bat, a la Freddie Freeman against the Braves a couple years ago. That was fun.
Sleeper pick, Teoscar. Sleep. Yeah, Teoscar.
Good
Sleeper
choice.
pick.
Good choice. Let's see. So, I mean, I guess maybe that'll do it. I'm not seeing any more questions as I'm scrolling through here. Well, here, Hallelujah wants to know, does Guggenheim or Mark Walter deserve a bobblehead?
2 per fan.
Yeah. I mean, I think, well, yeah, first of all, if the Dodgers did something like that, they would be mocked. But in all seriousness, credit to Mark Walter and Guggenheim for affording the front office the flexibility, the financial power to go out and do what they've done. I know that I have been critical of them, especially last season, and I still stand by that. I guess if that was 1 year to have to pay for Ohtani and Yamamoto, then I think probably most fans would agree that it was, I guess, worth it to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blake says, get our good friends at FOCO on the Mark Walter bobblehead. Yeah. So FOCO does do some interesting bobbleheads, and there is one releasing tomorrow morning of Ohtani and his dog. And that's all I can say for now, but we will have all the details for you in the morning. So definitely follow us on Twitter at DodgerBlue1958. Same thing on Instagram and Facebook, and you'll see the link to that as soon as it's released, along with the official picture and everything. Yeah, I think. Well, here, let's end with this one. Hawaiian Kira wants to know Blake Snell on the Dodgers, and obviously, what this is sort of starting to stem from is Snell remains unsigned, and there's some speculation or belief that maybe he'll end up taking a short-term deal somewhere. So, assuming it is a short-term contract, do you see the Dodgers working out something with Blake Snell, or would you want them to?
Do I see it? No. Do I want them? I'm gonna say no again. I think I'm pretty sure they like the collection of personalities and the talent they have. It gives them some variability with young arms, and adding one more guy who you expect a high-priced piece to the rotation then pushes everything back, so it decreases that a little bit. I think really do honestly believe they like the group that they have currently, and they're going to stick with that. But it would be funny though. It would be the Death Star. I think is already there, but I think he's a Yankee, honestly.
Interesting. All right. Yeah, I'm with you. I've never been a huge Blake Snell guy, and I don't see, even if it were potentially a 1-year deal, because it would have an opt-out after 2024 and all that. I don't see it happening. I don't see the Dodgers spending the money to do what it would probably still take. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for Scott and I. And again, we want to thank everybody for joining us on this live show and really being flexible and taking part and participating, even though we started this, like we said, the 8th inning as the game was still going on, to sort of react to things as it was happening live. Unfortunately, it was a whole lot of nothing for the Dodgers tonight and their 4-0 loss to the Angels. But hey, we were able to have a great conversation about some of the highlights from it, Bobby Miller and some of the concerns, Daniel Hudson, and then a little bit of ice cream talk, some bobbleheads, some South Korea looking ahead, opening day. It's all going to be here before we know it. So once again, I'm Matthew. That's Scott. We thank you guys for joining us, and we will be on with you guys again Friday night. I think Jeff may be hosting that one, so we'll see who we pair him with, whether it's myself or maybe Blake or one of the other writers, or maybe multiple of us. But we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.